Hello my friends who are listening to Ebird Online, and I'm back with another review. So guys, today we're going to be looking at a couple that we all know and love, Ariela and Biniyam. Know and love you say? We know them to be jokers, and we love laughing at them. So guys, I've got to say I'm so surprised to see that these two are still actually together. And it seems to me that Biniyam is hanging on by the skin of his fingernails. So those of you who know this couple will know that Ariela fell madly in love with Biniyam when she was travelling around Ethiopia. And by the time she got back to the States, she discovered she was pregnant. And Ariela, in her infinite wisdom, decided she wanted to have the baby in Ethiopia so that Biniyam could be present for the birth. Oh Ariela, who wouldn't want to make a booty call their life partner? My grandmother always used to say to me, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And Ariela lives and breathes this very sentiment. For Ariela was quick to discover that Biniyam was less of a life partner and more of a nemesis. So as we all know, Ariela moved to Ethiopia and she had problems finding a decent apartment. And also she had quite a few problems with Biniyam's family, namely his sisters, who were very protective of him and who seem not to like Ariela at all. So what does Biniyam do for a living? You might well ask. He's a part-time singer, part-time dancer, part-time nightclub performer. Oh right, yes, and a full-time fuckwit. And unfortunately for Ariela, Biniyam seems to think that popping out to the shops and then staying out for 48 hours is reasonable behaviour. Ariela, don't worry about what Biniyam's doing. He's of course busy banging the girl he told you not to worry about. So thus far, Biniyam's career seems to have been untroubled by success. So he's been living for the past year on handouts from Ariela's parents. And it has to be said that Biniyam's a man for whom $100 could quite possibly be a life-changing amount of money. And that leads me quite seamlessly into how they met. Ariela was standing at a bus stop in Addis Ababa and she saw the gorgeous Biniyam walk past. He looked over at her and smiled and she said, come over here, and the rest, as they say, is history. Ariela tells us, Biniyam's so good looking, I was drawn to him immediately. But Ariela's sisters tell us another more interesting story. Biniyam has always been obsessed with Western girls and it's his dream to go and live in America. Guys, it really isn't looking good, is it? So before we get into the latest season's shenanigans, the time has come for me to ask you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so as yet. Make Ebird a very happy Ebird, and also please don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoy the video. And so without further ado, I give you Ariela and Biniyam. And we first catch up with this couple and they're at home. They're having a little chit chat and Ari asks Biniyam, how's the last year been for you? Has it been good or bad? And Biniyam responds, well, it's been a bit of both. And Ariela said, both? Why do you say this year has been terrible when this is the year that your son was born? Oh Ariela, you know very well why. So Biniyam has another son who's about 5 or 6 years of age now, and he had this son with another American girl. And according to Biniyam, she wrongly thought that he was cheating. Biniyam, that's what girls think when you stay out all night regularly, or in fact at all. And so she said she was going back to the US for a visit, and he never saw or heard from her again, and he's never had any contact since with his son. And so I know why it's been terrible for Biniyam this last year, because each and every time he and Ari have an argument, which is daily, in fact hourly, she threatens to go home. That's why Ariela, some of this year for him has been terrible. And Ariela goes on to tell us that she's moved into a 3-bedroom home with Biniyam and that they're now engaged. In fact, I remember at the end of the last season when they got engaged. Now you come to mention it, it was in the midst of all your arguments and it was so ridiculous I'd actually erased it from my memory. And Biniyam tells production it's been really hard this year because of COVID and all of the nightclubs in which he normally works are closed. But things have become markedly better for Ariela because she now has help in the home and she has a nanny. And she tells us that most people in Ethiopia have help and have nannies. I bet Ariela that most people do not have nannies. She says it's only $200 a month. I will guarantee you, Ariela, that most people in Ethiopia do not have nannies. Maybe most Westerners, but not most people. And so she introduces us to her nanny, Mimi. Mimi? Oh my god, is that not a stripper name? Guys, there's no doubt in my mind that sooner rather than later, Biniyam's going to be wanting to make inroads into Mimi. And we see Ariela and Mimi in the kitchen, and Ariela says, Mimi, you're my best friend. Guys, I find all the best friends are your paid employees. Oh dear. And she continues, when Biniyam stays out all night, I feel so much more comforted because you're there. And then she moans on to production. She says when Binny goes to the studio, he sometimes stays out all night. The studio? Oh my god. Hopefully Ariela's never seen Love and Hip Hop in Atlanta. And I'm specifically referencing Stevie's studio. But the Ebird's seen it. And I fear the very worst for Ariela. But don't watch Ariela. She's got a couple of tricks up her sleeve herself. And she tells us that she's bringing her ex-husband, Leandro, over from America to Ethiopia for a visit. And the very next time we see Ariela, she's actually FaceTiming with Leandro, and he's currently quarantining in a hotel in Ethiopia. And she says, "Hi, oh god, I nearly called you babe, force of habit." And he chuckled. And then they had a conversation about what food he was eating, and he'd been trying Ethiopian food. And Ariela said, "No, I've never tried it. I've been living here for a whole year, but I don't eat the food." So much for the great intrepid traveller, Ariela. She travels with a suitcase stuffed with boxes of Pringles. She has really gone down in my estimation for that. What, you haven't even tried the food? How do you even know if you like it or not? Ariela, I really am side-eyeing you over this. And as she laughs and chats with her ex, she tells him, "I haven't had so much fun and so much of a laugh in ages." And guys, I've really got to be honest here. I see trouble on the horizon for Biniyam. I really do. This guy is fire looking. He's good looking. He's a doctor. He's a polyglot. And he likes Ariela enough to go skipping around the world for her. But that's not my only reason for thinking, Biniyam, there's trouble in the post. The main reason that she said that they split up was because he wanted to concentrate on his doctorate and she wanted to go travelling. So they were together 10 years all in all. Then after 7 years, they split up because of this difference in the way they wanted to live their lives. So there was no cheating. There was no, we'd just grown apart and we didn't like each other anymore. There was just a simple, we've been together since we were 19. We want to experience different things. Biniyam, they're the kind of couples that get back together. And so next time we see this couple, they're back at the house. So then Ariela goes upstairs and she asks Biniyam, "Can you help me get the room ready for my ex-husband?" Biniyam agrees. He's going to help by standing at the doorway and pissing all over the bed. I can be so disgusting sometimes, sorry guys. Ariela, why didn't you just do it yourself? Why are you trying to rub it in? And I would feel sorry for Biniyam, but him playing the bottom bongo with his ex-girlfriend is still etched on my retinas. Ariela stands over Biniyam and watches him make the bed like an overbearing schoolmistress. And she tells him, "I'm not very good at making beds." Without being rude, Ariela, what are you good at? I'd dearly love to know. And then she asked Biniyam, "Are you really excited about it?" And he said, "Well, not really, because in my culture, this is a bit weird." Biniyam, in everybody's culture, this is a bit weird. Don't get it twisted. I think Ariela's tried to create the narrative whereby, oh, this is seen as kind of okay where I'm from. It isn't, not by a long stretch. And the truth be told, I'd never have it. I would not have it on my watch. I wouldn't. So when Biniyam asks Ariela, why is he coming again? She said to see me and to see the baby. Biniyam's baby, you mean? Yep, that's right. And also to see Africa. Ariela, he's going to have quite a job seeing the whole of Africa from Addis Ababa. But I digress. Ariela goes down a well-worn path which I'd forgotten that she used to do last season, and it's back again immediately. I think he wants to check you out. When we argue, I start crying and I call him, and I slag you off to all hell. And now he thinks that you're not a good guy for me, so he wants to check you out. I heard the same with your mum, Ariela, and the same with your dad. Stop with the threatening. You're always threatening Biniyam. I don't know why. And so, to be fair, I think Biniyam's handling this quite well. Biniyam actually said to Ariela, I do sometimes get really jealous when you speak on the phone to him for such a long time, and you're always laughing, you seem to have a lot of fun. And sometimes I do get jealous. And I think this is almost the most adult that I've seen Biniyam ever be. He's not trying to forbid her to do anything, or threaten her in any way, but he's just being honest and open about his feelings, his fears, which I think are quite well founded. And he said, I feel like you love him. And she said, I do, but not the way that you think. And she said, we're best friends. And Biniyam looked at her and said, you love him. And you can see that in his mind, that's a great worry, and it would be a great worry to me. Someone's single, fit, been married to you for 10 years, and now they've skipped 3 continents to come and see you. Oh, Binny, it gets worse and worse. And so then Biniyam said, my ex went back to her ex-boyfriend and took my child with her, and I don't want the same thing to happen again. And Ariela just stood and looked at him. She didn't even reassure him in any way to say, no, I wouldn't do that, or you will always be able to see your son. She just looked at him with a weird look on her face. And then Biniyam said, well, he's welcome in my home. I'm Ethiopian and we welcome everybody, but I will be having a talk to him to say I don't want the same thing to happen again, and to see where his head is at. And again, Ariela just stood and stared with a weird look on her face. Ariela, you're game playing and you know it. And she says in a somewhat puzzled tone, Binny doesn't really like it. He's got all macho and all territorial. Yeah, Ariela, that's because most people don't like their partner's ex-spouses coming for extended visits. I don't think that's territorial. I think that's quite natural. I'd understand it more if you lived in the same town or the same city. But he's skipping 3 or 4 continents to get to Ethiopia, and I think even Ariela can admit that's quite some undertaking. So the next time we see Ariela, she's talking again to production, and she tells them, I'm not sure how Binny's sisters will react when they hear that my ex-husband is coming over to stay. Ariela, you are sure, you're very sure, they're going to go absolutely freaking ballistic, and you know it. And she further complains, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and our relationship is very contentious. And guys, we spoke last season about Biniyam's sisters, and they do seem to be excessively suspicious of Ariela. But I've got a feeling every time Biniyam and Ariela have an argument, he goes to his sisters and moans and tells them about all her bad points. I've got nothing to back that theory up, but something just tells me it's true. And so Ariela and Biniyam are sitting in the garden at home, and Biniyam's 2 sisters come for a visit. And you could honestly cut the atmosphere with a knife. And Ari said, hi, I've got some great news for you. And Wish, one of his sisters, said, are you having a baby? And then she said, oh God, no, I'm not. No, my ex-husband's coming to visit me. And both Wish and Mimi, the sisters, said, I thought you said good news. And she said, yeah, it is good news. In fact, it's great news. Ariela. I don't know what to say about Ariela. She is such a weirdo. Ariela, are you familiar with what good news means? If you tell somebody else, I've got some good news, that means I've got some good news for you or for us. If you tell somebody I've had some good news, they know instinctively it's good news only for you. How the hell do you think that your ex-husband coming over for them is in any way good news? In fact, considering you're engaged to their brother, it's nothing short of freaking terrible news. Sometimes it's almost as if Ariela has lived entirely outside of society. And honestly, if I hadn't seen her mum and her dad, I'd be side-eyeing the hell out of them, but they're great parents from what I can see. So I always just wonder, how did Ariela come to be? But at this point, Wish is incandescent with rage. And she says to Ariela, are you serious? Where's your ex-husband going to stay? And Ari said, here, in the house. And then they speak to Binny in their own language. And they asked him, how do you feel? And he tells them, well, what can I do? I'm not in a position to do anything. And I guess he's not, because this big lovely house they're living in and the lifestyle they're leading is all because of Ariela. So Biniyam is really on the back foot. And then Wish looked Ariela directly in her eyes and said, this is some white people shit. It's not normal. He should be in a hotel, if at all. And I've got to tell you, Wish, I think you're entirely wrong. I don't even think it's white people shit. It's Ariela shit, like I say. If the Martians came down tomorrow, they'd take her back as one of their own. But as always with Ariela, the best is yet to come. Because Biniyam's older sister said, have you told him your secret yet, Ari? And Ari said, what are you talking about? And she said, have you told my brother that he came to stay with you when you were pregnant and that you slept in the same house? And Ari said, no, I haven't told him because he'd read something into it that wasn't there. But I told you this is a secret, so why are you talking about secrets for? Ariela, she kept your secret before because she genuinely must have believed you and thought there was nothing in it. Now this Leandro is coming to visit you all the way in Ethiopia. It's only right that she tells her brother everything she knows. And guys, only an imbecile of the lowest cell count would think about telling that sort of secret to Biniyam's sister, who incidentally doesn't even like you. And Ariela told production we were telling each other secrets to try and garner some sort of friendship and trying to develop our relationship. You don't develop relationships by telling people shit you shouldn't have done. Ariela really does need to wash her brain out with acid. But then she said the weirdest thing of all. When Biniyam said, "I think something happened between the two of you," she started laughing and he had to say to her, "Ariela, don't laugh, this is not funny." And she said, "We were in separate rooms." Oh, that's okay then. Given that you're both paraplegics and neither one of you can move from room to room, that's alright. Oh no, you both have been given the power of walking. So separate rooms means absolutely nothing. And Biniyam finished up the segment by saying, "If I'd have known they stayed together before, he would never be coming now." And that's where we end things for this week. Guys, in these troubled times, it's still very comforting to know that even though there's been a worldwide pandemic and life as we knew it will never be the same again, that Ariela is still as mad as a box of frogs. Ariela really is something else. Most of the statements she makes can be answered with the question, "Can I laugh in your effing face?" So I think there's two reasons that Ariela's doing this. One is a genuine tit for tat. Being absolutely no doubt, Ariela knows what she's doing is wrong and Ariela knows what she's doing is very contentious. And this innocence is all just an act. She's doing it as a direct tit for tat for Biniyam staying out all night and not being contactable when he's in the studio. But the second reason she's doing it, I believe, is that she does fancy Leandro. And there was one thing that really stuck out when they had their phone call. They were just chit-chatting about quite mundane things really, quite boring things. And she was laughing crazily and saying, "Oh my god, I forgot how much fun you are. You're so funny." Ladies, what do we do when we see a fit guy in a bar? And we're trying to flirt without flirting. Yep, that's right. We laugh at his not very funny jokes. And then also, as I said earlier, the demise of their relationship seems almost too amicable to be true. In actuality, of course, the way she tells it, he seems to be the perfect guy and they found themselves at an impasse at different times in life. Nothing was broken about this relationship, ergo, nothing needs to be fixed. A problem if ever there were one. So guys, let me know what you think. Do you think she's doing it as a tit for tat? Or do you think that she's doing it because she genuinely fancies Leandro? Or is, as she says, is it just innocent? Please let me know down below. But just before I go, I've got to save a little bit of fire for Biniyam. Oh Biniyam, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions. So Biniyam, when you go out and stay out all night at the studio and you're not able to be contacted, there's going to be blowback. For every action, there's a consequence. Also, I've got the feeling that Biniyam thought in some way he'd have the upper hand when he got together with Ariela. But not so, it hasn't turned out that way. You thought you could treat her any old way and she'd just come bouncing back. Literally what's happening to you, Biniyam, is what happens when taking your shirt off sums up your entire personality. So guys, that's everything. Let me know what you think in comments down below and I'll get on with another video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And I'll see you very soon. You've been listening to Ebird Online and I bid you good day.